Join us Saturday, February 8th through the Disruption Network 3-year anniversary party at the Jewish Community Center, 2310 Oneida Street in Utica, New York. Musical acts include Annie in the Water, acoustic performance by Haley Jane, Trampoline Jetstream, and Live Noah. Haley in the Water will cap off the night covering Fleetwood Mac's hit album, Rumors. The whole Disruption crew will be on hand and will be presenting our annual D Awards. Party kicks off at 6 p.m. There will be beer, wine, food from Doughboys Barbecue, and Holy Pizzoli with some incredible live music. Come celebrate 3 years of the D, Saturday, February 8th. For tickets, visit our website, disruptionnetwork.net.
So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broken everything, including your back. Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Want to know what's going on at the D? Hit up DisruptionNetwork.net and check out our events calendar brought to you by the Events Co. Find out about upcoming guests, special events, concerts, show schedules, community activities, and more. Get connected at DisruptionNetwork.net.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? And welcome once again to 3 and Out, brought to you by MyGarageBar.com and Disruption Network. Jamie had that face on. He was like, oh, he's going to
say the wrong one. I could see it in his face.
He's going to say how fucked up this idiot after 3 years can't get it right.
Doesn't know where he is, what day it is.
Hey, look at we got you as there we go.
Hey, here we are.
I'm looking at our cameras here. There we are.
Yeah.
So you can't see what's going on, but
no, I can't.
Okay. Anyways, Jamie, what's happening, man?
Not much, man. It's been a quiet day today. I sat around all day. It's good.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was
Not working?
No, it was on the weekend, so I get a day off during the week, and today was it. So
oh, that's right.
Ran a few errands and then sat around with the dogs. That was my Tuesday so far.
Good stuff, huh?
Hell yeah.
Actually, before we go any further, I have to talk a little hockey news because I see you're wearing the Capitals.
I had to in light of a fine thing that I read this morning and immediately sent you the message of.
Yeah, you did. Backstrom signed for what, 5 years, you said?
5 years at a very friendly $46 million.
That guy.
Yeah, that's a steal for the Washington Capitals. Nicholas Backstrom.
Yeah, so we get to deal with him for another 5 years.
And you get to deal with me for another 5 years at least.
For anybody out there who doesn't know, we have this ongoing little battle going on.
It is, yeah, year after year.
Between what are my Pittsburgh Penguins and your Washington Capitals.
Yep.
And, of course, out of the last 4 Stanley Cups, Penguins have won 2 and the Caps have won 1.
One of them.
So pretty good that we at least get to see deep into the season.
Yep, and it's usually one of the teams eliminates the other one.
Yeah.
That's how it always works.
Very true.
So see how this goes. Backstrom signs today. Sidney Crosby coming back tonight.
Yes.
It's on.
It's getting ready to go.
It's on.
And those two teams haven't played each other yet this season.
I know, isn't that crazy?
They don't start till February.
Silly. Yeah. Just silly. It's going to be crazy. Moss.
Hey.
What's going on?
What's going on? It's not been a quiet day today because I have been at work all day. But but you know what? We're down to the wire here when it comes to football.
Yeah.
So hockey will have to wait just a couple more weeks.
Right.
We're stealing Jamie at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure you are
on the hockey show.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's happening. I already know. I expect that already.
Yeah. And but Moss, big weekend this past weekend.
It was a big weekend.
We're gonna have to give you some little props here because your bets, your wagers there were
I was 4 for 4.
4 for 4. This girl was.
Yep.
Wow. Who knew? Take her to Vegas.
I took Ray's spot with the Vegas.
I was gonna say speaking of Vegas, Ray Nation, what is happening?
What's going on?
Oh man. Now let me ask you one question right off the bat.
Yes.
Have you finally found it in your heart to open up and let the San Francisco 49ers in? Still not going to do it.
No. But it's finally all coming together, and they'll finally be done this week. So
Oh,
There you go.
Forward to
boy.
this.
Early
man.
prediction there.
can't wait.
Yeah, early
Can't
prediction.
wait.
I guess that brings us right into where we're going with this. Let's talk NFC, man. The NFC, I'm going to tell you what, I expected a little bit more from the Minnesota Vikings, man. What happened? Or was that just me imagining that?
Listen, I flat out said that game was the most well-matched game for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And boy, I was wrong on that. I will say I was completely wrong on that. I did not expect that blowout of a game.
No, I don't think anybody did. I think that after the big win last week for the Vikings, everybody figured that this was going to be right down to the wire, and unfortunately, it was not.
Yes.
So, Ray, I'm going to start with you today. I want you to explain to me how you haven't allowed the 49ers in. What did you see in this game?
I mean, so they've done everything right. Mm-hmm. So this tends to happen. I doubt a team. And I keep doubting, and then I finally give in, and they screw me over. So I'm going to continue to doubt them because they've been playing very well. They're winning games. Everything's going right. But I'm telling you, I promise you, this is the one. This is the week. This is it.
So you're actually doing like
More of a
49ers
reverse psychology.
Yeah, 49ers.
Going with it.
You're doing them a solid by
Yes.
by not.
But
liking them.
you know what? I'm going to tell everybody to take them this week, so we'll see what happens. We'll see.
But here's the thing.
He's all over the place, this guy,
How
I tell
did
you.
they take apart
No,
the Vikings so easy like that?
that defense, honestly, that's what impressed me the most because it just seems that whenever Kirk Cousins thought he had a chance to throw the ball,
Yeah.
somebody was in his face and making contact with him. And he just looked out of sorts and very upset at his offensive line. He probably wants a refund on the Christmas gifts because they did not protect him at all. He was getting throttled. I was like, damn, Kirk Cousins. But you know what? It's all right because the Packers got something for him. So it's okay. Okay.
Oh my, Moss, what'd you see?
I saw first off Jimmy G going out, throwing that touchdown, the opening drive of the game, and then the defense in the running game played the rest of the game for him.
Yeah.
And did it end. That defense is insane, like Ray said. Holding Minnesota to a total of 147 total offensive yards, 18 yards from Cook, 18 yards from Dalvin Cook. That is insane.
Yeah, for a guy that we've watched all season and
Dominate
Yeah.
in any game he's played, and they just shut down that offense from start to finish.
it's amazing to
They had
me when
no
I
hope.
watch them how fast that defense actually is. Just lightning speed, and they're on everything.
Minnesota did not have first down until like late in the second quarter.
Yeah, that's
Crazy.
for a team that the week before we saw, kind of take down the Saints. What happened? It's just like, man, maybe the 49ers were even a lot better than we thought. I'm saying that Ray's over there giving that look like, nope.
He's not falling for it yet. Yeah, that's what it is.
All I'll say is my picks for the Super Bowl are still all there. So all I'll say. So I'm still sitting pretty right now. And it's honestly, when you think about it, people talk so much about the Niners and the Ravens, right? Well, neither one's going to make it Super Bowl. So
Wow.
that's all I'm saying. No
Wow.
number one seed's getting there.
Wow.
That's all
Damn.
I'm saying.
It's going to be a rude awakening in this world, huh?
I
See.
think so. It's
We'll see.
the way Ray's talking about
Yeah.
it. So
Jamie, what you got?
we're going to flash back. I need your help on this. Actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Was it week 3 that the Steelers played the Niners?
Yes.
Is that correct? Am I accurate on this?
Yeah, that's definitely the beginning of the season.
Where we were like, oh boy, are you serious that the Steelers just lose to the Niners?
Yeah. It's not even that. I got a phone call from my brother Chris that night while the game was going on, and he flat out said, he goes, "This is the fastest damn defense I've ever seen," and this is a man who's been watching football for 40 years as well. He's not lying. That's exactly what you say. Ray alluded to that already. Kirk Cousins tries to drop back, use the weapons that he has, and for the most part, with an semi-injured Dalvin Cook, his options were Adam Thielen, who actually returned in a better capacity as well, and Stephon Diggs, and he didn't have a shot.
Nope.
It was a different number every single time. I mean, Cousins' head had to be spinning by the third quarter
I'm sure.
because he had to basically have his head on a swivel the entire game after the first drive. I thought it was going to be a battle right off those first drives. They're going back and forth a little bit. And then the Niners just did exactly what they should have done, which I said last week on the podcast as well. Use your strength. Run the damn ball. 40 carries as a unit. And they used the three-headed monster in that one as well. Brady, I believe, got the least amount of carries. They really went to Mostert and Coleman. And those were the big two. Totally fine. Whoever's the hot hand, go with it. But whoever you see is getting the better looks, the better angles, whatever it may be, getting the best burst through, use them, and it worked. It just pretty much lulled everybody to sleep. Unfortunately, though, that's probably the only takeaway, only major takeaway I have about all 4 games this week. They were all relatively crappy. For the most part, there wasn't a lot of excitement,
especially after the week before that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a disservice after the football we watched the week before to see even the closest game, which I know we're going to talk about later, was kind of a snooze fest if you really watched it. But we'll hit that later. The Niners just crushed. It's that simple. Don't turn the ball over. Run the ball. Smash mouth football. That's their identity, and they used it to the fullest against Minnesota this past week.
Mm-hmm. And Bosa is a man-child.
He's better than his brother. He's probably the best lineman in football right now, and he doesn't have a full season under his belt. That's not to negate Joey Bosa in any way, because Joey's just as scary.
Oh yeah,
Nick's just that much scarier right now.
Getting Quan Alexander back, though, I mean, they're all healthy. That defense is as healthy as they get.
Yeah.
Scary.
They got it at the right time. Mm-hmm. Let's go on. We got to talk about the Packers and the Seahawks a little bit before we jump to the preview of our conference championship game. So the Packers and Seahawks, I don't know, man. That was probably the closer game that you're talking about, yes?
That is the one.
Yeah. We had the chance to watch that up with Josh Crossman.
Yeah, which I sadly missed because I did have to work on Monday, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was going to be off. Otherwise, I'd be up there with him.
I'm going to tell you
We
something.
had to watch it with all Green Bay fans, and I'm like, so does anybody care that I don't really like either one of these teams? I don't want either one of them to
But I'm going to tell you something. You've never seen an entire room of Packers fans go, yeah, we won.
Now I'm a little nervous. Pacing around the house because they're all nervous.
Yeah.
Sweating.
Yeah. I mean, what happened in this game with the Seahawks?
This is the biggest problem. It's more the Seahawks' ineptitude than it was the Packers being better. And not to say that Green Bay played a poor game by any stretch of the means, but Russell Wilson is the only person on that team right now, especially with all the injuries. It's what we hit last week. Too many damn injuries going into the playoffs for the offense, especially on the offensive side of the ball for Seattle. It literally was Russell Wilson, and that's it. I mean, DK Metcalf played great, especially for a rookie, but you can't depend on him. Right. Russell Wilson led the team in rushing yards as well as passing yards. Of course, the only thing he couldn't lead is receiving yards because he can't friggin' catch the ball himself. He's not that damn good as far as I can tell. But that's the problem. The Packers got a little bit blessed by having a Seahawk team that was a lot hotter about a month ago, maybe a little longer, that then got decimated a little bit by injuries at the absolute wrong time for Seattle, but a perfect time for Green Bay. And watching it, Green Bay did exactly what they should do. They kept putting up some points, more methodical drives as far as it went, and padded a lead. The score lies to you, though. That final score of a 3-point game is not accurate because Green Bay had a pretty sizable lead going late into that game. Yeah. And then, of course, sure, you allowed Seattle to come back, but they controlled it even after that, despite the controversial first down call on the Jimmy Graham that 3rd and 9.
Yes.
Like that was if that's your hope as a Seahawk fan, it shouldn't have been in that point in the first place. But you pretty much had to scramble your way back from down 3 scores, going into that, and it's just too much to it's almost insurmountable, especially in the playoffs. It's damn near impossible a lot of times against the defense that's playing as well as Green Bay.
Yeah. I think towards the beginning of the seasons we were wondering in those early shows we were doing.
Yeah.
We were kind of wondering what was going to happen with Seattle because, just like you said, they really have – it's like one-dimensional team.
Yeah.
They've got some questions, to answer in the offseason. They've got to get some parts around that team, and we'll see what happens, but I don't know.
Obviously, you saw Marshawn Lynch play like he hasn't played football in a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was not productive at all for that team. But I think that Green Bay is actually very lucky that Seattle got off to such a slow start, because had they come out playing like they did, the end of the third and fourth quarter, you would have seen a different outcome.
Yeah.
Absolutely would have seen a different outcome. Green Bay just used their MVPs of their team like they should. I mean, Devontae Adams and the other Aaron were a big factor in their offense, and key parts to that team, and that's what won them the game.
Yeah. And I guess right now we watch Beast Mode just go back back to retirement.
Yeah,
he's probably going to retire again.
2 games and back up.
And say goodbye. See, and there's a small disagreement I have there, just because even if Seattle comes out, I think you see a different mindset out of Green Bay as well. I think they had enough to maintain no matter what. But it tends to be when you start to get that 3-score lead, no matter what team it is, they always pump the brakes. It never fails, and there's essentially nothing wrong with it if you come out and win the game, unless you do something colossally stupid. We'll talk about that later as well. but
Part 2 coming.
Part 2 coming your way shortly. But that's the thing. Green Bay altered their game plan a little bit to just try to. It's a 3-score lead, so let's try to kill as much clock as we possibly can before giving the ball back. And I have zero issues with that, but it also made for boring football.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Packers, they just seem to just be doing just enough to get the wins. They're not doing anything flashy, but that's okay, because when the playoffs started, I said, nobody's talking about the Packers. Nobody's even mentioning the Packers. They're just kind of just squeaking by. Everybody's all about the Niners, and everybody's all about the Ravens, and we saw what happens to those disappointing Ravens. We'll talk about that later, but we saw what happens. So I'm telling you now, Aaron Rodgers, after the game, he said he's going to drink his scotch and enjoy. What did he say? He's going to go have a scotch and enjoy his night. And I'm telling you, he's probably sitting there like, yeah, nobody's expecting them to beat the Niners, so he's going out there free, comfortable. But I'm telling you, they're going to beat the Niners. I swear.
I mean, you are onto something there.
They're going to beat them.
The entire
nobody's
country.
mentioning them, and they were that was the quietest 13-3 I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Very quiet 13-3.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I looked. I was like, they only lost.
They got a bye.
13-3.
If they got a bye out of that, yeah.
I'm telling you, they've got something coming. Watch, and when they do it, I can't wait to just laugh at all of the. I'm going to give a Stephen A. Smith laugh. And he laughs at the Cowboys all the time. I'm going to do that for all these Niners fans that really think that this is their year, because it's going to get shut down. I can't wait.
Oh, man. All right.
Yeah.
So Ray is still not showing any
telling
love
you.
to the 49ers.
Doesn't show
I
any
can't
love for San
wait. I
Francisco.
can't wait.
Not doing it. But you're onto something though, because I when the seeding came out for the NFC and they got the bye, I looked at the record and I had no idea. We've watched football all damn season. I had no idea that they were 13-3 until the playoffs started. Yep. And that's exactly what it is. A lot of tight contests. Doesn't matter who they're playing. It could be anybody from Detroit or Chicago in their poorest, or even Cleveland or something like that. Or they're playing the Seahawks, but they're still coming out on top. And that's been their forte. They have some of the ugliest wins, I guess you can say. Although in the NFL, there's no such thing as an ugly win. It's only a win.
Absolutely. And you're right. It's very, very quiet 13 wins. So are you siding with Ray on this? Do I hear another Packers?
See, I was a little against the Niners last week for the idea of it's still a quarterback that hasn't had much more than just a shade over a full season right now, when you really think about his game action. And now he's coming off what will absolutely 100% his first playoff game. It will catch up. I'm kind of going with the grizzled vet, which is hilarious to say out of, was he 32-year-old Aaron Rodgers? He's the grizzled old man with a cane at this point. But I am kind of going with Ray only for the sheer fact of the moment might get a little too much for the Niners. Just a very young team. They are built well. I have nothing against their squad. I think they keep it a more entertaining game than what we saw in Seattle.
Yeah.
Again, but I like Green Bay for what they do. They seem to have a little bit more pieces. They're playing solid on both sides of the ball. So I'll say Green Bay, and that's a coin flip.
Wow.
That's a coin flip Green Bay, by the way.
2 Green Bays. Yeah. Moss?
I am going to completely be total opposite from both of these guys.
I knew it.
Yeah, you knew it. If I hadn't seen the San Francisco I just saw last week, against Minnesota, I would think a little bit differently because I would automatically assume very young team. They're not, have no experience in the playoffs. But number one, they get an extra day of rest. That's a huge advantage. And let's not forget week 12. I'm going to mention week 12 because San Francisco kept Aaron Rodgers. First off, they sacked him 5 times and he had 104 passing yards. That is his season low. Low, 104 passing yards.
So
and
you're saying
he's going against that same defense, and now they're even healthier than they were in week 12. The Packers' weakness in their defense is stopping the run, and San Francisco leads the NFC in rushing yards. So, nope. Not doing it. Going with San Fran. And I, as a Steelers fan, do not want to see San Francisco in the Super Bowl, but I just
you don't want them going.
What I see, there's no way. It didn't matter who was coming out of that other game. I don't think anybody had a chance against San Fran, and I'm going to stick with that.
It sounds like everything should just fall right in place for the Niners. Like seriously,
it's almost too perfect.
It
right?
seems like it's just that everything is just right there for them to just. It's their game to lose, right?
It is.
I'm telling you, well,
Another advantage that San Fran has is that Matt LaFleur's brother is the assistant coach for San Francisco.
Well,
Mike LaFleur. So he's got the inside scoop
well,
on what his brother's going to do.
I don't think that's going to be. I'm gonna call BS on that one right there.
I
don't
know
think
what he's
sharing.
going to do. I talked to him the other day, and he told me the whole game plan.
It has not been a promising season. Generally, historically speaking, it's never promising when a team loses in the regular season and you face them in the playoffs. It usually does not go the same way. That's one thing.
I like the Niners as far as how the team is overall, but this is not their year. It's just not this year. Next year, they'll be right back in the playoffs. They probably won't. They won, 14-2? Or was it 14-2? They're not going to get that again next year. They'll still have a solid 12-win season, make the playoffs. But I'm telling you, this is just this is the Packs' year, man. I called in the beginning Kansas City, Green Bay, and that's what's going to happen.
All right.
We'll see.
We are definitely going to see this week. Should be good. I'm hoping for some better games.
Yeah, I hope for a good game.
Yes.
I hope for a close game.
Good game.
I don't want to see a blowout.
Let's be honest. Just like Jamie was saying, those were horrible.
They were.
They were bad games.
It's one of those ones where you got your expectations so far up, and you're like, blowout. What's going on? And speaking of blowouts, we're going to talk about another one in the second half here of the show. But
a very good blowout.
Oh man, unbelievable blowout. But Moss, you have trivia for us today?
Have trivia.
All right, let's do our thing here.
All right, well, here we go with this week's Moss's Mindbender trivia question. So the Tennessee Titans are now going to play in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs as the 6th seed. Now, since 1990, when the NFL expanded its playoff format to include 6 teams for each conference, there have only been 2 teams that were 6th seed to win the Super Bowl. What 2 teams? Again, who are the only 2 teams that were 6th seed to go on and win the Super Bowl? We're going to find out that answer right after the break, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
February 18th, the Disruption Network 3-year anniversary party at the Jewish Community Center, 2310 Street in Utica, New York. Musical acts include Annie in the Water, acoustic performance by Haley James, Trampoline Jackson, and Live Noah. Haley in the Water will cap off the night covering Fleetwood Mac's hit album, Rooney. The whole Disruption crew will be on hand and will be presenting our annual D Awards. Party kicks off at 6 p.m. There will be beer, wine, food from Doughboys Barbecue, and Always Control with some incredible live music. Come celebrate 3 years of the beat. Saturday, February 8th. For tickets, visit our website, disruptionnetwork.net. Join us Saturday, February 8th through the Disruption Network 3-year anniversary party at the Jewish Community Center, 2310 Oneida Street in Utica, New York. Musical acts include Annie in the Water, acoustic performance by Haley Jane, Trampoline Jetstream, and Live Noah. Haley in the Water will cap off the night, covering Fleetwood Mac's hit album, Rumors. The whole Disruption crew will be on hand and will be presenting our annual D Awards. Party kicks off at 6 p.m. There will be beer, wine, food from Doughboys Barbecue, and Holy Pizzoli, with some incredible live music. Come celebrate 3 years of the D, Saturday, February 8th. For tickets, visit our website, disruptionnetwork.net.
So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broken everything, including your back. Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Want to know what's going on at the D? Hit up DisruptionNetwork.net and check out our events calendar brought to you by the Events Co. Find out about upcoming guests, special events, concerts, show schedules, community activities, and more. Get connected at DisruptionNetwork.net.
Welcome back to the second down of 3 and Out, brought to you by Disruption Network and MyGarageBar.com. So before the break, I hit you with my Moss's Mindbender. That question was, who are the only 2 teams that were 6th seed to go on and win the Super Bowl? The answer is the 2005 Pittsburgh Steelers and the 2010 Green Bay Packers. They both won it from the low spot on the totem pole. Both of those teams had franchise quarterbacks leading their way for those years. To make the probability even worse, only 8 teams in the history of the NFL have ever won the Super Bowl from the wild card seed in the playoffs. So there you have it, folks. Moss's Mindbender.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
The
you know,
bad part about that, I'll tell you the bad part about Green Bay.
I know the bad part about that.
is that Green Bay went on to beat the Steelers that year in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We'll forget about that night.
Steelers came in and beat the Seahawks, right?
Yep.
The 6th seed.
Yeah.
And then the Packers came in as the 6th seed and beat the Steelers. I've noticed that there's a lot of teams that have really good records, good for them,
Against
not so good
yeah.
against the Steelers.
Yeah, of course.
It always seems to happen that way.
Of course.
Crap. Bunch of crap. Oh, man.
Kind of works the same way for this year, too, if that happens, because kept the Steelers out of the playoffs.
That is very
So,
true.
there you go.
Very true. So the moment that we've all been waiting for, we get to talk about the AFC and 2 very weird games, I think, this weekend.
Yeah.
Where we saw oh man, I know the outcome, and then all of a sudden, what the hell happened? Yeah, it was very weird. Ravens and Titans. Wow.
Yeah.
And Ray's giving the smile. He knew
Told you
all
so.
along. Yeah. Ray, I'm going to let
Called
you start.
it.
I called it too, Ray. I called it.
Oh man, that was great.
What happened to those Ravens, man?
I mean, honestly, you can't listen. Lamar Jackson probably won the MVP already because I think they make that vote before the playoffs start anyway. Supposedly, right? So probably won MVP. Fantastic, great for him. But the Titans shut him down so bad, and I just loved every minute of it. I'm watching every play like, damn, look at him. Look at him messing
him
it up
struggle.
out there. Because they ran through the regular season.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always convinced New England tends to be the only team that when they get a 1 seed, they get right to the Super Bowl. Everyone else, there's a struggle in there. And
It's because they don't sit their players.
Mike Vrabel, man, that guy's a great coach.
It's great.
I'm shocked. And I got to be honest, I probably doubted Derrick Henry more than any of the AFC running backs because
I think we all did.
I thought he was a bust, to be honest. But, now I'm realizing it wasn't him. Mariota's the problem. Because Ryan Tannehill probably just got himself another $60 million because of these 2 games. Because he's going to get an extension easily because he's playing great football. But, the Ravens just It was just bad. I loved it though. I
It was
loved
great.
it. I love seeing a team that was so successful just lose, and not even like lose, like really get destroyed.
They got their ass handed to them. Just saying.
The Titans corners, man, locked up those receivers so well. It was perfect.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I mean, right off the bat,
Loved it.
This game never had a chance.
No.
for Baltimore.
No.
Never. It was great.
The first pick by Lamar Jackson, I was like, that's it. I said in 5 minutes, I picked the Titans, but I said within 5 minutes of the game, you'll know whether or not the Titans even have a chance. And as soon as Lamar Jackson got picked, I was like, that game is over.
Yeah, that got ugly very quickly.
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
But I loved every moment of it.
But I kind of want to go with something that Ray was saying. That's Derrick Henry, man. I got to tell you, I kind of thought he was a bust too.
With Derrick Henry?
Yeah, when he first started out, I mean, I think most people did. They looked at him as just kind of another running back coming in,
Plug and play type of guy. Nothing spectacular, I guess you can say.
And I made the analogy there to Brandon Jacobs years ago.
Yes.
Giants. Just a really big guy.
Solid.
That was a bruiser. They could come in and move that line, but
About it.
at the end of the day, his career I think was pretty short lived, and and he went off to greener pastures. I kind of figured it was going to be the same thing with this.
Ooh, Derrick Henry about to get paid.
Yeah,
He's a free agent. I'm throwing that out there right now. He is set for free agency right now. So
and the Titans,
Vrabel is not going to let him go.
no,
There's
the
no
Titans
way.
better break out that checkbook.
yeah, I had this conversation. I want to say with Ray Party last week, or maybe sometime this weekend. I don't know. Somebody was talking about Derrick Henry. Like, well, the Titans are going to pay him. Like, sure, if they have the money. I don't know what the hell they have though. I don't know their cap status, and I don't know his demands. We're speculating here. So
That is true.
It's a possibility he's not a Titan next year, which would be very dangerous to that team going forward. But at least for one day, for Sunday. Excuse me, Saturday. That was a Saturday night game.
It was a Saturday night game.
What a gross game! And last week I sat here and I tap danced this so hard. I remember sitting here on the podcast going, and the shittiest part about it, and I excuse my language on that one, was that I listed every reason why why the Baltimore Ravens would lose. And that's it. But I still picked them for some stupid reason. I convinced myself that they're 14-2. They can't lose.
Yeah.
I should have just stuck to what I was saying. Lamar Jackson hadn't had a shot all year to throw an important pass, and when it came down to it, still hasn't. So
He had to throw 59 of them.
yeah, 59 of them. He wasn't overly efficient or effective in any way, shape, or form. Mark Ingram was damn near invisible the entire game, and they pretty much the Titans did exactly what they should have done. They turned it into the Lamar Jackson show, and he can't do it himself.
No,
it's not that effective. It has to be all cylinders firing at once, and sure, bad bounces on that first interception, but the fumble. I don't know what the hell he was doing on that. He ran into the pocket, then out of the pocket, then back into the pocket, then back out of the pocket before deciding to say, you know what, I'm going to still look downfield while there's 7 guys around me and get a strip sack here. It's like, man, no, you got to know when to just call it, man.
Right.
Hold your cards and let it go. Live to play another hand, but
throw it out of bounds.
Anything
Something.
at this point, trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And I understand you're going to see that out of young quarterbacks, but this was what we saw out of Lamar Jackson last year. This is in the playoffs. It looked like somebody who was overwhelmed, overmatched, and it happened again.
Yeah.
So he's young.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
We said that last week. We said, he's got to get that out of his head.
Yeah.
That last playoff.
That's why
This is gonna make it worse.
And that's why this upsets me, because I said all these things and it still went. You know what? I think
Yeah.
Baltimore's going to win, but coin flip type thing. You know. I
Yeah,
should
I'm
have
the
just
only
stuck
one
with
that said
it.
the
I really should have stuck with it.
You weren't here.
I should have taken my own advice.
Yeah. Instead, yeah. Go Derrick Henry to your massive payday, and Ryan Tannehill for throwing 29 passes in two games. 29 passes, that's all he's had to throw.
I know.
Come on now.
Moss, all right. Gloat a little bit.
I just had this feeling the Titans were playing great football. They still are playing good football. They are doing everything they need to do. Their defense is playing outstanding, and they are using that horse, I should say, of a running back.
No, he's
Or
a
a
house. He's
house.
kind of a
He could be a
house.
house.
He's a mobile home.
And nobody can tackle him. Nobody can tackle him. And it was great seeing the Ravens lose.
Jamie,
I had a smile. You know what? It made it all worth it not to be able to watch the Steelers in the playoffs, just to watch the Patriots lose one week and the Ravens lose the next.
I know. Jamie,
All we need
I
to
got to
say.
tell you, maybe you should phone that in. Actually, the mobile home.
The mobile home.
Tell them that's the
Mobile
new
home.
That's his new nickname.
new
Yeah.
nickname, the mobile home.
It's mobile home.
But Moss, I mean, right on cue with that. I mean, how many? You must have seen all the memes pop up online, like the remember the
yeah,
Titans.
yeah.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
was great. Yeah.
Showing Tom
So
Brady,
Tom
crying.
Brady cried.
And then Lamar Jackson now in the picture. Like,
The Ryan Tannehill family photo with baby Lamar.
say that
That one was good.
Yeah.
That one was good.
the internet is undefeated,
Oh,
man.
man.
It really is.
There.
Great
They'll
stuff.
find some way to beat you, no matter what.
It always cracks me up. It's so fast, man. The game's
Yeah.
barely done, and all of a sudden you look on there, you're like, how did they come up with this quick?
Yeah,
I don't
seriously.
Get it. But
That's crazy.
we'll talk a little bit about the other game here, and that was the Texans and Chiefs. And all I can say on this is, what the hell did I just watch?
Oh my God.
Up 24-0, and then
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. That
And then
game-
you lose. How do you go up?
Dude.
How are you up 24 points and lose by 20?
I have never in all of the football I've ever watched, especially in the playoffs, seen such a blowout for one team turn into them getting blown out.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen that before. And I remember watching the game and I'm sitting there and I was in Venice. I was in Venice Pizzeria. And I was eating and there were a couple guys in there with their Chiefs jerseys on. And I was like, this one guy, he's like slamming stuff. I'm like, don't worry. I was like, relax. I promise you, if they can get 14 points, they win this game. And he's like looking at me like I was crazy.
I think we said that
Looked
at the
me
same
and said,
time.
crazy. I was like, they're down 24-0, but there's a lot of time. Trust me. Houston, for some reason, they know how to mess up. Just give it time. And they scored that first touchdown, and the guy looked at me, and I just gave him a little head nod. And then he started eating his pizza. They got that fumble recovery and scored again. He looked at me like, oh, my God, this guy's on to something. And I put a status on Facebook, and I said, keep that same energy when the
saw
Chiefs
yours.
come back and win this game from down 24-0. And man, it was so bad. I was loving it. I'm sitting there dying.
That guy
I didn't
should
have
have
to
bought
pay
you
for
a
a
beer.
drink.
I
I
was
didn't have to
gonna
pay for a
say.
drink the rest of the night. Every drink. They're like, whatever he wants, it's his. Just get it for him.
Great.
Oh, it was
That's
fantastic.
a great story.
It was so good, man. I honestly, and that's what kind of scares me about the Chiefs because they can play so bad, and then in the blink of an eye, they can just play lights out.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's what makes me convinced that that's our Super Bowl champions this year.
You know, they always say like Mahomes, super athletic, and blah. When you see him on the field with everybody else,
Insane.
man, it's not even fair. It's like when you were the biggest kid on the playground. You're like
yeah.
a sixth grader taunting the second graders, holding the ball over their head, like making them chasing around. It's crazy. It's
It
absolutely
is
crazy.
nuts, but all that even goes to show. I had the pleasure of watching the stupidest friggin' call I've ever seen in football.
Yeah.
And me and Moss looked at each other
Yeah.
and lost our minds.
Oh, so that fake punt.
Thank you. It's 24-7. There's about 8.5 left roughly in the second quarter. And you decide to do a fake punt, Bill O'Brien, from your own 30
35.
when you're up
35,
17. When you're up 17.
But yet he didn't want to take the 4th and 1.
Yes.
Fourth and one on the play before.
In the red zone, he took the field goal. I was like, "What? That was the one
What
he
are
should have
you
went
do-
for."
yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was
Sure,
like, "Oh, this idiot."
absolutely. Go for the 4th and 1, but you got to punt it away. The most head scratching and mind numbing thing about that entire call. I know it was only 3 seconds of a fake punt, but that was the entire 59 other minutes of the game wrapped into one. But me and Moss looked at each other and went, Chiefs are winning.
Yeah, that was
Game's
it.
over.
Well,
Game's
that was
over
your
right
game.
there. That was your game on a stupid play. And I don't understand how you're up 17 and you do a fake punt when you have witnessed the Kansas City Chiefs waste 3 drives already, 4 actually, 2 that were ended on third down drops, 1 a muffed punt for crap's sakes,
Yeah.
and the other one a fumble already. So they've already had 4 miscues, but the muff punt was the thing that got me. Like, you just saw them muff a punt. You probably have a better chance of them muffing yet another punt than you do converting there. It's just a horrible idea. Sure, let's give a team that can score in 1 minute a shorter field.
It made no sense.
At 23 seconds later, it's a touchdown.
But you know what that is?
Mind-boggling, dude.
That is the sign of like we are absolutely outmatched here, and we realize it. We're afraid to go for it on that fourth and one.
4th and 1, and they took the field goal.
We don't trust ourselves to get that, so let's just kick the safe field goal. And then when they go and do that punt there, that's like, wait a minute, we got to do something. We're desperate. We need those points back. This is going to turn into a runaway. That was just very, 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 very bad. And you're right. They might as well have just etched the name in the headstone right there.
It was over.
It was done.
Absolutely, it was terrible. I'm still like very angry about this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of either team, but watching that game, I just can't tolerate stupidity. And that there's no book, no coaching handbook or anything that says that's a great time to go for it. Nobody in their right mind should ever do that.
No.
So Houston fans to be losing their minds.
Based on a playoff game.
Exactly. And Houston fans to be losing their minds calling for their head, they're absolutely right.
Absolutely.
That is a fireable offense on the spot. I'm surprised he made it to halftime.
Surprised the fans didn't march the
Oh
field
my
and
God.
carry him off.
Seriously.
I'm curious. I didn't watch the post game, but I'm curious. I'm sure a reporter had to ask him like what was going on with the fake punt, and I'm curious what he said.
Drugs.
How do you respond to that? Well, we thought we saw something on the field, so we took a chance. I mean,
There's no excuse for
I don't
it.
know. But I'll tell you
We
what.
were who they thought we were.
If he gets, first off, if he doesn't get fired, then I'm disappointed.
Yep.
And if he gets another head coaching job from someone else, then there needs to be a psych evaluation done on the hiring staff, because there's no way that guy clearly he's taking. And you know what? We're only talking about it because it failed. Right? Because if he converts it, then everybody's like, "Oh, that's such a ballsy move," and that might have been the momentum shift that they needed to keep that to win. But
I think he had too many thoughts of
watching
Sean Payton
the rest of the game after that, you're like, "Well, you caused this. Like,
it's your doing.
This is your fault."
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the problem. They had the momentum at that point. That's the thing that I think bothers me the most. It's not a ballsy call. It's just dumb. You have a 3-score lead at that point. And I mean, worst case scenario, sure, they still score the touchdown, but I don't know. I can't wrap my head around why that makes any sense in any way, shape, or form if you're trying to get a momentum shift when you had the momentum. I mean, I just don't understand it. And you know what, Ray, you're right. The only way Bill O'Brien gets another job after this is if they erase that entire play from the archive.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get rid of the internet and start over.
Because let's
that's
face
the only way.
And any team going forward, right? If they really do their due diligence on Bill O'Brien, and if they're thinking about hiring him, he's going to have to sit in a room and explain to people why he made that call. Yeah. Because people are going to question that judgment forever.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to sit down with a straight face and explain, well, what did you see? Like, why didn't you call timeout and say, no, let's just punt this away?
Yeah.
Take the penalty, take the 5 yards, kick it away, whatever. Why did you do this?
I can imagine that interview. Be like, before we say yes to you, we want to ask you one question.
What would you do in this situation?
Take us through this moment here. So
I don't understand. I would no.
Yeah,
he can't get another job for that.
Even if they convert there, I still call that stupid. Regardless,
it's too risky for that
it's
situation
way
there.
too risky for where you are. If you're on the 50 or even maybe even the 45, I'd be a little bit better with it. But
and they delayed on that.
The 30,
they delayed on that snap too.
they set up.
Yeah.
They set up. And for a while,
and let the defense read it. Like you could see the defense readjusting. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Like guys, don't go with this. This is going to end in failure. And you did it.
Yeah, their gunner moved.
the only thing I can think of is like in the huddle, the players were like, "Coach, we got this." Like they were confident in themselves, and like what was it? Justin Reed is the one that received the direct snap, right? The cornerback.
Yes, yeah.
So he must have said, like, he must have had to really believe, like, I can get this 4 yards. I got this. Like he had to believe, because otherwise, Sorensen spotted it a mile away. And just comes speeding across the field and just drills him. And I'm just like, this stupid bastard.
Can you imagine going back to the bench? Like, oh man, I thought I had it. I really did. I really meant to have it.
Bill O'Brien needs to lose his job.
Oh boy, you heard it here, folks.
He needs to lose it. That one's.
But a runaway train. That's exactly what that was. What was the final? Is 51?
51-31.
Yeah.
But they score 7 points after that. The next 7 drives for the Kansas City Chiefs were touchdowns.
Yeah. So
They ran out of fireworks.
All like in less than a
They
minute.
ran out of fireworks. They ran
yeah.
out of touchdown fireworks.
Yes.
That's how awful that
That's
is.
bad.
Oh,
At home.
So you 24-0. So wait. So they just so I'm wrapping my head around this.
Oh, yeah, by
you
all
go
means, go
from
ahead. Yeah.
24-0
Yes.
to get outscored 51-7.
Yes.
Fantastic.
you went from
And
Casey
also,
Wolf.
you gave away a quarter to do it.
Millions of dollars.
It was 24-0 after 1 quarter. So basically, the Chiefs decided to take 45 minutes to score 51 points.
You went from
Do the math.
mascot Casey Wolf banging his head on the door out in the lobby
Oh, that was
Yeah,
great.
that's
to doing like push-ups and jumping jacks out.
He had
on
his
the
like
field.
Hawaiian shirt on.
He changed his shirt.
That was
Gotta wear that
outstanding.
shirt,
Yeah.
man.
That was outstanding, though.
So now that we've killed that one, let me just ask you. It obviously, I think everybody is ready for another route down from KC onto like just crushing the Titans. Is that the case?
I'd like to say yes, but I want to see somebody stop Derrick Henry at this point. They're going to feed him a heavy dose. The thing is, if the Chiefs get up, we'll say 2 scores, and they're going to have to revert to Tannehill now throwing. Where my fear would lie is that he has only thrown 29 times in 2 weeks. He hasn't had a lot of pressure put on him in any way. He's made some great throws with what he's had.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had to, which is good for him. So I think if the Chiefs get up early, it's pretty much going to turn into a Tannehill factor, and that's going to be very, very bad for Tennessee. I don't see the Chiefs falling flat out of the gates the way they do, or the way they just did against Houston. They're going to come in a little bit more prepared. I'm going to say Chiefs. It's at home. We saw what just happened. Too dangerous of an offense. I don't think the Titans can score in bunches the way. I don't think anybody can score the way that the Chiefs
Not like
do. But the Titans have to
3
score.
scores in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Is that all
the
it was?
Titans have to have 6.5 to 8 minutes to score a touchdown. The Chiefs need 30 seconds, and that's not even a joke. So I don't think they have enough firepower.
Moss.
I'm gonna let Ray go first.
Oh,
right.
uh-oh.
So this is pretty simple for me. I think the Titans have to stick to their same game plan. They've got to give Derrick Henry the ball 30 times.
Yep.
They've got to run the ball nonstop, keep getting converting the third downs, and have a time of possession. Easily, they have to have it for 35 minutes. They have to have the ball for the majority of the game. But what I will say is they have to keep it low scoring because no matter what, they're not going to go score for score with Kansas City. It's just not happening.
No way.
They don't have enough offense for it. So if they can maintain and keep Derrick Henry active and running, and they keep converting their first downs, then they have a shot. But I think that it will be closer than what we're expecting. I think Kansas City is going to win. They are going to win the game because Kansas City and Green Bay are going to play in the Super Bowl. Because it's a State Farm Super Bowl.
It is.
There it is.
They are.
By State Farm.
But
Rigged.
but it will be closer than expected because people think that because of what we saw Kansas City do to the Texans, that they're going to just roll over the Titans because Ryan Tannehill is not as good of a quarterback as Deshaun Watson. But I think they've been doubted every game. They're going out there really loose and comfortable. Nobody expects them to win anyway.
Playing on house money.
They are, and they're going to show people that they deserve to be there. But they're going to come up short. Kansas City, if it comes down in the end, they're still going to win the game.
Their secondary is also better. Tennessee's. They're second. It's second to
They
none.
have probably the top 2 secondary. Yeah, their secondary is ridiculous.
Yeah, especially compared to the Texans, which is terrible. Sorry, Moss. Go ahead.
Get
No,
ready
you're
for this.
okay. So obviously, I've been saying forever how great of a quarterback Patrick Mahomes is, and I still believe that. But Week 10, Patrick Mahomes had his season high of 446 yards. The offense was near perfect against Tennessee, and they still lost. So, this is my projection. Tennessee beat the 2017 MVP of Mr. Tom Brady.
Oh, boy.
Then went on to beat what we presume to be the 2019 MVP of Lamar Jackson. Now he will move on. They will move on, and they will beat the 2018 MVP of Patrick Mahomes.
Bold, ma'am.
Listen,
That is bold.
The last 3 years, Teams that have played on a Saturday in the divisional round have gone 5-1 in the championship game. In the last 10 years, they've gone 15-5. So that's also good news for San Francisco.
Austin's dropping stats.
I am.
He's dropping stats.
I am. So I honestly believe it, like Ray said, if Tennessee can just work Derrick Henry like they have. I mean, he ran 188 yards again, 2 touchdowns against them in Week 10. There's no reason to think he can't do that again. Yeah. If they can keep the hands out of Kansas City's offense, they will win and move on and play in the Super Bowl.
You know, I'm going to add one thing on this.
Yes.
The only thing that gives me hope for Tennessee is if you looked in that last game, I think Henry was running 8 yards per carry.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Casey's defense at times is
porous.
Yes, porous is a wonderful word for it. I mean, if you can get that production out of him and he keeps that offense on the field and keeps Mahomes off the field, kind of like Ray was saying, I mean, it's amazing when you look at the defensive players when they're out on the field for a long time. Look at J.J. Watt this
he looked destroyed.
He was gassed.
Yeah.
Kansas City's defense is worse than both, New England and
Baltimore.
They're 26th in the league in rushing yards. They average 100. They give up 128 point something yards per game. Yeah. That's going to be like double for Derrick Henry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you can keep their offense, if you can keep Casey's offense off the field,
yes,
and just keep pounding and pounding and
they
pounding,
have a hell of a shot.
Yeah, they might not be blown out like Ray was saying.
They're not going to get blown out.
No, I'm with you. I don't think either game is going to be a blowout. I really don't. Yeah. But I'm going to reiterate what I already said. I hate games where you've already played. You played this in Week 10. On this side, yes, I know what the outcome. Tennessee won. This is also Mahomes just coming back from injury.
Yep.
Ryan Tannehill that has zero a usable film in a Titans uniform at this point, and a Derrick Henry that sure had a great line that week, but wasn't really utilized up until that point. You got a lot of stuff on him, and I don't like that again. I don't like the matchups twice against the same team. It never goes well for anybody, but I just want to see him be close. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I want to see it be a good game.
I want to be entertained, for crap's sakes. That's all I care about.
I'm just not counting Tennessee out. After what's in the last, I'm not counting them out.
You can't count any of these teams out in any way, shape, or form. That's the playoffs. That's why they play these things.
Yeah.
You can't count anybody out any week.
I'm going to tell you something else, too. If for some reason they do, even if they get blown out, there is nothing that they should be ashamed of.
Nope.
Oh, absolutely not.
They have played outstanding, and wow.
They got some building blocks now. They got to maintain them, but they got some things to build around there.
Absolutely do. Let's take our last break here. Jamie, do you have an IR for this week?
Yeah, I went far. Up until the point that I got here, I kind of was all over the place, but then I saw some stuff, and I got some things to talk about now.
Got some things?
I got some things.
All right, let's see if we can make this official here, and...
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's IR. So for this week, I actually decided to hit on something that's hit a number of players over the last couple weeks, even a little bit early in the season. It's also a more frequent injury that you usually don't hear about until the off season, which is core muscle surgery. Deshaun Watson was shut down, I believe, in Week 10 of this year for that type of surgery. And just today, Ed Oliver of the Buffalo Bills is having it, and Jadeveon Clowney later this week is also going to have core muscle surgery. Now, what this actually means, your core muscles are pretty much your abs, your abdominal muscles. You have your six-pack, right up and down the middle, and then your oblique muscles, which are off to the side. Now, the ones that are more affected are the ab muscles themselves, called a muscle group called the rectus abdominis. And what actually happens in order to get this type of injury is as you are pushing against another human being at full strength, a lot of times you get straightened up. When you straighten up, that rectus abdominis muscle tears away from the pubic bone where it normally attaches. This is also called a sports hernia. So what happens is that tears away, and you have persistent groin pain, week in, week out, day in, day out for weeks on end until you actually have something repaired on this. few ways to do this, and this is also why most of these players haven't missed any time, is they usually will treat conservatively. Painkillers, anti-inflammatories, stretching techniques, a little physical therapy. But from a conservative method, especially when you're talking about professional athletes, it's only a success rate of about 25%. Professional athletes, it's damn near zero, really. Usually it's just maintenance at that point. So during the off season, what's going to happen is these people will then get surgery to reattach that rectus abdominis back down to the pubic bone where it normally attaches to get rid of that sports hernia, if you will. Generally a short procedure, usually between about 2 and 4 hours, depending on who does it. And most of the professional athletes go to Philadelphia for this procedure. And recovery time after this is only about 3 to 8 weeks, which seems low based on the injury that you're kind of talking about. But it's a relatively less invasive thing than most people are thinking about. And there's enough musculature around the torn area that they can overcompensate for the injury a little bit more. So after the 8-week period, as long as there's no setbacks, usually from that point, it's just a strengthening exercise, a little bit more to stretch out any of the scar tissue that build up from the surgery. And they're good to go, usually without any type of hiccups the following year. A prime example, Cole Beasley had it during the offseason and barely stepped foot during minicamp during Buffalo Bills summertime and didn't miss a snap. So usually anybody who has this is good to go.
Sidney Crosby.
And Sidney Crosby, of course, as Rich alluded to, who only missed 6 weeks, if memory serves, and he's back tonight with the same injury. So with all that being said, so for Sidney Crosby and Ed Oliver, Jadeveon Clowney, and even Deshaun Jackson, we wish you all the speediest of recoveries and hope we could get to see you guys back either later this season for hockey fans or next season for those football fans there. So for 3 and Out, I am Jamie, and this has been this week's IR. Stick around.
February 8th, the Disruption Network 3-year anniversary party at the Jewish Community Center, 2310 in Utica, New York. Musical acts include Annie in the Water, acoustic performance by Haley James, Trampoline Jackson, and Live Noah. Haley in the Water will cap off the night covering Fleetwood Mac's hit album, Rumors. The whole Disruption crew will be on hand and will be presenting our annual D Awards. Party kicks off at 6 p.m. There will be beer, wine, food from Doughboys Barbecue and Holy Fazoli with some incredible live music. Come celebrate 3 years in the D. Saturday, February 8th. For tickets, visit our website, DisruptionNetwork.net. Join us Saturday, February 8th for the Disruption Network 3-year anniversary party at the Jewish Community Center, 2310 Oneida Street in Utica, New York. Musical acts include Annie in the Water, acoustic performance by Haley Jane, Trampoline Jetstream, and Live Noah. Haley in the Water will cap off the night covering Fleetwood Mac's hit album, Rumors. The whole Disruption crew will be on hand and will be presenting our annual D Awards. Party kicks off at 6 p.m. There will be beer, wine, food from Doughboys Barbecue and Holy Fazoli with some incredible live music. Come celebrate 3 years of the D, Saturday, February 8th. For tickets, visit our website, DisruptionNetwork.net.
So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broken everything, including your back. Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Want to know what's going on at the D? Hit up DisruptionNetwork.net and check out our events calendar brought to you by the Events Co. Find out about upcoming guests, special events, concerts, show schedules, community activities, and more. Get connected at DisruptionNetwork.net.
Who the hell are you? You know.
about house money right now. Well, we gonna come to you and we gonna bring it to you like this.
Say my name.
All right, so conference championship weekend. Only 2 games to pick, but there's still a lot of betting options. Let's start with the NFC. The good old 49ers are playing the Green Bay Packers. As you guys know, I have doubted the Niners the entire year, and this is when it all comes to fruition. Finally, after a long 19 weeks, I finally get to show you guys why I have been doubting them the whole time. So, Green Bay is plus 7.5. I think that is a fantastic value because usually that extra half point is the difference. Take Green Bay plus 7.5. Right now, the over-under on this game is 45. I think that's really low, and that means that Vegas thinks that it's going to be a nice, slow game, but it's going to be different. Take the over 45. Going to the AFC side of things, we all saw what Kansas City's capable of, and they get a nice matchup against the Tennessee Titans. Right now, Vegas has the line as Kansas City minus 7.5, but I got to be honest, that's a little high. Take Tennessee Titans plus 7.5, and for the over/under in that game, they have it right now at 52.5. I would say under for sure, because when it comes to playoff football, the unders roll. So, when we see Kansas City and Green Bay in the Super Bowl next week, I will be a couple weeks from now, I'll be happy to give you my pick on the Super Bowl, and I'll have another house money for you guys.
House money!
Enjoy.
I love that.
Telling you. Watch. I can't
I
wait.
miss being able to jam out to the music.
I know. That's the
Can't
best
wait.
part about that. They were not on camera for that, too, which is
No,
probably good for
it's a very good thing.
I can't wait.
Oh,
Finally time, man.
it's time.
Bringing it back to Super Bowl I, huh?
Yeah.
We're bringing it back. You know, I love that. Every time I hear that music, obviously we're all dancing and that's going on. But I always hear my buddy Chester,
Yes.
who records that house money. We got to be there at the Stanley Theater to load in that show tomorrow at 6 a.m. And that's what I'm going to be hearing at 6 a.m. Him screaming, going, "Get on them trucks!" That's how he is, man. Dude's great.
Oh gosh.
Gonna be interesting though, Ray. You're giving the snub this week to Vegas.
Yeah, man. Because so here's the deal. Like 7.5 is such a weird
Number?
It's a stupid number. Because I mean, yeah, technically a touchdown, right? You can get a touchdown to PAT. But when they offer that half point to you, it tells you like they think they're onto something. And Vegas, however they do it, however they come up with these lines, I don't know. They say it's an algorithm. They run like 10,000 simulations, and then they come up with whatever the highest bet was. But I got to be honest, when I looked at those, they're doubting the Titans too much, and they're giving the Niners too much credit. So I'm telling you right now, the Packers are going to cover. The Titans are going to cover. Packers are going to win. The Chiefs are going to win. This is how it's going down.
See, this is why I understand nothing about gambling, because you're like, they use the algorithms, they run the models.
Huh?
I always think of it like the movie Casino, where they the old bookie over there going,
Yeah.
"I knew when he was gonna take a piss," you know. That's how I imagine, Vegas these days, but obviously not the case. So this third down, we have a little bit of a weird conversation, and I don't know. We'll see how this goes. You're probably going to hear me say something, and I'm sure everybody's going to go, "Wait a minute, you're the Steelers fan. How are you saying that?" Let's not get this twisted. All right, this conversation is completely about coaches going into the Hall of Fame, being selected for Canton. And anybody who was watching the games this week, I actually thought that was kind of a cool way they were doing it. They had what's his name, David Baker, the Hall of Fame president, and he was kind of like surprising everybody walking out onto the set on live TV. That was actually kind of cool.
It was cool.
And first he came out and he surprised Bill Cowher, who was very had a whole speech. I don't know if he planned that or not, but it was very, very put together.
Odd, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's so shocking. Let me pull this out real quick.
He was really on it. And then they did it with Jimmy Johnson too, who honestly, I don't think he knew. He looked.
I don't think he had a clue. Yeah.
He looked like he needed a crash cart at the end of that
Yeah.
that thing. Get that guy a bottle of water, man. He was. I understand it though,
Yeah.
man. It's a hell of an honor,
Yeah.
and he was all choked up, and certainly, two great careers, and it's wonderful to see those guys get in. But that being said, I will say that as the Steelers fan, I went on some Steelers websites after that and Facebook pages and whatnot. And what did I see? There was actually a lot of people that were trying to voice an argument that maybe Bill Cowher wasn't actually worthy of going into the Hall of Fame. And it's funny because the first thing I saw is I'm like, get the hell out of here. Of course, me, right? But then as some people were talking about it, I started seeing some things and I'm like, all right, if nothing else, I will say that I think maybe it has opened up the door for a lot of candidates that might not have otherwise been looked at. And I'll just say we can crunch the numbers here a little bit. I don't want to go too much. We'll be here till 8:30. But it is true. When you look at some of the coaches that are out there and some of the ones from the past that have not been selected, I don't know. Maybe Cowher wasn't necessarily the first that comes to mind. Maybe he shouldn't have been the first one selected. There's a couple names, that are pretty that have been circulating around there. I think we were looking at a couple earlier, right? Like Dick Vermeil. He's out there. And was Schottenheimer?
I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame.
No, he's not.
Yeah, there's some guys that are pretty notable out there. They've been coaching forever. I don't know. And when you look at some of the names that are still out there, John Gruden, he's back to coaching. I don't think you can be elected when you go
You
come
have
out
to
of
be
retirement
retired for a certain amount of years.
But it also opens the door for guys like Mike McCarthy. If you're going on like a winning record and what is one Super Bowl, did that open it? Pete Carroll.
See, that's what the floodgates are now open. So, yeah, I don't like it. I'm sorry. I think Bill Cowher was a fantastic coach for a very long time, but one ring is just not enough for me. He needed more. He had a lot of opportunities, and to only get one ring, that's just not. Because now, and it's not him, because maybe I guess they're looking at the overall. Maybe it's what he's done since being a coach. Maybe they're factoring in that he's still relevant and he's been a commentator for so long, and I don't know, but with one ring, I'm looking at the list of the names here, and I'll tell you, if Tom Coughlin gets in, and he's got two,
Right.
And if he gets in, it's going to kind of
Coughlin is one of the big ones on that list.
It's going to tarnish what it means to be a Hall of Famer as far as a coach, because he had some bad teams where I was like, and he was there long enough where those were his teams. Like he picked all those players, and they
were calling for his head.
Yeah, they were literally calling for his ass. I believe the same year that he won the Super Bowl.
And
Both times.
what's crazy, and that's what I mean. So, and that's the craziness, because if I'm Tom Coughlin, I'm arguing too. Well, if Bill Cowher gets in, how am I not a Hall of Famer? I got two, and he's right. How is he not?
Mike Holmgren. I don't know.
Unbelievable. Honestly, I think that they just opened a can of worms that's going to cause a lot of problems.
It could be
for a lot of people.
I think Holmgren has one as a coach, and I think he has two as
He
an
was
assistant.
Who's an assistant? Yes.
Yeah, so he's got he's got a resume there too, another one that we're also looking at, if you're talking about longevity and one Super Bowl, all of a sudden opens up for Mike Tomlin. And if you think about this was something that I was considering when I was reading those comments on this thing. They said Chuck Noll, he was with the Steelers forever, obviously, and he won 4 Super Bowls. So yeah, you're like, okay, that makes sense. But then Cowher went to 2 Super Bowls, won 1, lost 1. But the longevity's there. Okay, and he had a pretty good record. Obviously, he had a very good record, but he had some very, very gifted players. He had a lot of Hall of Famers that were around there in that time. We were talking about it before. You have to talk about Polamalu, who's going to be in this year. I don't think they've officially announced it yet, but everybody knows he's going to go. Jerome Bettis, even though he's not technically in there right yet. Hines Ward, Alan Faneca is always on the ballot. He played coached
Coached, yeah.
Dermontti Dawson,
Woodson.
Rod Woodson. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that have been Hall of Fame caliber that have been underneath Cowher. You're right. Won Super Bowl.
I mean,
all that time. And now you look at Mike Tomlin. Now he's got longevity. I think he's on his like 12th or 13th year coaching, right? I think it's 13.
I think it's 13.
Going into 13.
Yeah.
2 Super Bowls, 1 loss, 1 win.
Same type of resume. So maybe all you have to do is be a Steelers coach, and you're automatically a Hall of Fame candidate. I don't know.
I think, because obviously I'm going to defend Cowher, but I think we look at it when you guys talked about when you compared players, it's more than just what your record and your Super Bowls are. Ray Party was here and he was comparing, like, let's say this person has the same record. One player, you don't even know who he is, and the other one is now, might be in the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
So it's more than just that. And I think when you look at Bill Cowher, it's him as a person, what he did for the team, what he did for the organization as a whole, and what he did for the league as a whole, as more than just a coach, and it's more as just winning.
Well, what about Mr. Y2 Banana himself, man? Or what is it, Y2 Spider or whatever? John Gruden. I mean, he took the
Gonna
same.
be an argument, yeah. I don't.
I mean, he came out of coaching after winning a Super Bowl that everybody knows.
Tony Dungy did it.
Tony Dungy.
Tony Dungy got that one.
Went into commentating for years, and I mean, if you're talking about a polarizing coach, I mean, the Raiders are now paying him $100 million to go do his thing. I don't know.
That's another argument too. Is Tony Dungy a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
by
they're
this logic,
comparable.
yes.
Yeah,
by
because-
this logic, yes.
Well, because that's what I'm saying. He got one right as the Colts head coach.
Yep.
And then he was the assistant on the Bucks back when John Gruden was there.
I think Dungy just went in though.
But he is in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about Gary Kubiak's a Hall of Famer?
Thank you.
I mean, he won as a player, right? He was the backup to John Elway for a couple of years, right? So he's got those.
he was.
And then he won at Super Bowl 50
Yeah, that's
for
true.
Denver. But I don't
Sean
think
Payton's going to be a.
what the hell? He's not a Hall of Famer.
I mean, we were
Product
actually.
of circumstance.
Yeah, there's a few problems I have with this, like just this list in general, and bear with me. So when it comes to players, the one thing that I have an issue with is comparing rings. I hate that because it's 53-man teams. It takes all 53 to win. If it doesn't take all 53, let's talk to Tennessee just to make it to the AFC Championship game with that roster. So it shows that it's a team. Also, if that's the case, Dan Marino has none, and he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Right. If you're comparing rings.
Yeah.
Now, my argument with this is for head coaches, that is your only friggin' job. If you're a head coach or a GM, is to put together the team that gets you to that level. So I personally don't think one does it for you because that just, especially if you've had 14 chances in this case. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, Bill Cowher is also one of the most polarizing figures as far as head coaches go in NFL history. He's the chin. He's aggressive. He's shoving paper down ref shirts and things like that.
Spitting everywhere.
Yeah, he's just like in everybody's face, and everybody recognizes him for being that polarizing figure. Off this list, you can even take the look at a John Gruden for that exact reason. Pete Carroll, to a point, you all know who he is because he chews gums like he's chewing his gum like it's going out of style
Like
at
his
this
jaw's
point.
gonna fall off. Yeah.
Even Mike Holmgren. I'll be happy with Holmgren because he looks like a walrus, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I like walrus or walruses or whatever you want to say.
Walrus.
But they're popular enough guys as far as you can pick them out of a lineup, I guess you can say. But when you're starting to get to the lower echelon of this list, the Mike McCarthy's. I know he just got rehired. I looked up his record. It's 125-77 with a ring. That's a better winning percent, or about the same winning percentage, excuse me, as Cowher currently has. Same playoff winning percentage. And same thing, 1-1. So far, we'll see what happens. But if I say the name Mike McCarthy without that, is he a Hall of Fame coach? Hell no, absolutely not. But so you take the numbers out and look what happens.
Yeah.
But it's because Cowher is a polarizing figure, and he's a very well recognized figure that he's in. I'm not saying he shouldn't be in, but it's a little bit of everything. It's the fact that he has a good track, and on top of that, he also is the chin. I mean, he is the chin.
But he walked into, I know everybody, I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about Chuck Noll, but the last 8 seasons Chuck Noll coached, they didn't have double-digit wins. Cowher's first year, he had 11 wins.
Sure. But it's 1 year out of 14. That's the
15,
that's the other. And look, I'm not arguing to argue for any reason. I'm just arguing just because I like to see both both sides. I want to be on the fence. I want to be Switzerland. That's all I'm trying to be. So, but I mean,
6 AFC Championship games. That's
also true. Ray's already nailed this though. This does open up Pandora's box for a lot of other things, because if you're looking at just paper champions, which that is media at its best right now.
Yeah.
Paper champions, Cleveland Browns. And so if you're looking at
Freddie Kitchens, a Hall of Fame.
Exactly. If you're looking at just
Poor guy lost his job.
No.
Yeah, I know.
That poor guy.
But if you're looking at just the numbers and themselves and not using the eye test or what he had, as you said, coming in and out of that, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice when selecting this, because I do believe he deserves to be in, but it's not only the record, it's everything that went with
it's everything.
Bill Cowher.
And that we can argue the same thing with players.
Yeah. Well, who made the point? It was like, who was it? Was it Fitzpatrick?
That was Ray. That was Ray.
Right.
Where he did the statistical comparison. It was Troy Aikman, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, versus Ryan Fitzpatrick, and it's not even close.
Statistically, Fitzpatrick has better numbers, but he's not a Hall of Fame. In my book, he's not a Hall of Fame.
No.
I mean, maybe he is for longevity. I guess. I mean, I guess there's something to say about that. And I don't know, but
it's an interesting debate.
Not
I mean,
a Hall of Famer.
Obviously, when they look at that, there's not like a checklist.
Of what they have to hit.
Yeah, like you have to have 5 years in the league and you have to have 2 rings. There's none of that. But and I understand why they keep it open so they can bring in and make decisions. But it definitely adds to the debate. And yeah, man, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a couple. Tom Coughlin.
That's the funniest one to me, man.
He's the one that I think.
The irony is he's going to get in. He's going to get in, and it's going to be the biggest
sham.
It's going to be the
Travis-mockery.
It's going to be the biggest scarlet letter of head coach. His gold jacket's only going to be bronze, and it's going to be so bad because he should not. God damn it, he's going to get in.
Even Giants fans are like,
Coughlin's
you can't put him in there.
Yeah. He's getting it. Giants fans are about to protest that jacket coming on him the same way they protested him being the coach during Super Bowl wins. Literally, he was the only coach I can think of that his head was called for both times.
All I can imagine
it's amazingly
is him putting on the gold jacket and just like Happy Gilmore, I believe that jacket belongs to Mr. Gilmore.
racing him down while he's trying to throw it on.
Yeah, I will get you, shooter.
I wonder who's going to be the coach to chase. Would it be Holmgren? I think he's big enough for it to chase him down the parking lot, steal that jacket. It would be. It's going to be Holmgren. Yeah.
Guys, you're not going to believe this one, but we are down to.
One show.
One more show.
Do you believe it? We've made it this far. And everybody's going to go, wait a minute, one show? There's like 3 weeks of football left. But you know how we do this every year.
Yeah.
And I think in our first year we tried. And we just realized that the week after the Super Bowl, guess who's watching football shows?
Nobody.
Absolutely
Ain't nobody watching football shows. Nobody cares to listen to what we have to say when when ESPN is dissecting the hell out of everything you just saw the week before. So, one more show. We're taking next week off, obviously, and then we'll come back the week of the
Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl.
Well, it would be the week of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's the week
right
of the
after,
Super Bowl,
right after the Pro
Bowl. So skip a week, then we're back that week, and we'll talk about the final game.
The big game.
Yep.
The big game. Thanks, Moss. We just avoided another $1 million.
I think we should have a party. I think we should have our own party.
I think we should. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll bring back all the cast of characters that we run through the season.
That's a good idea. We can do that.
Party and
do you want me to make chicken wing dip?
Where's the question? I don't even know why you have to ask.
Yeah.
Of course. Look at the size of it. So,
we'll have chicken wing dip right here.
Chicken wing dip, and we'll
more champagne. Ray, you missed the champagne last week.
The champagne?
Yeah, we popped champagne because the Patriots.
He lit right up over there.
What? Well, no, I was just looking up records. So Marty Schottenheimer, is that a Hall of Fame coach? He's got 200 wins.
Yeah, right?
Right? He's a Hall of Famer? But yeah, you remember he was 14-2 and they fired him?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. These coaches, I don't know.
It's a questionable thing.
Bill Cowher, you know what? Congrats to you, but he probably went right off air and was like,
me?
dude, really?
Yeah.
Is this a joke? Am I being punked?
Maybe that's why I didn't get choked up because he's like, any minute now they're going to be like, sorry, but we're not really here for you.
Where's Ashton? Where's Ashton Kutcher, that little bastard? Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, he's my favorite coach of all time. Bill Cowher is.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I am
I know.
happy as hell.
Yeah, congrats, Bill.
Congratulations to you, Mr. Chin.
To the coach.
And yeah, whatever you do, man, love you. Anyways, I think that's going to do it. So for Ray, for Erica, for Jamie, I'm Rich Masucci. We won't see you next week again, but we will see you the week after that for the final show.
Yeah.
Chicken Wing Dip and maybe booze in hand, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Listen, you guys all have a good night. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you very soon. See ya.
Later.
We out.
Join us Saturday, February 8th through the Disruption Network 3-year anniversary party at the Jewish Community Center, 2310 Oneida Street in Utica, New York. Musical acts include Annie in the Water, acoustic performance by Haley Jane, Trampoline Jetstream, and Live Noah. Haley in the Water will cap off the night covering Fleetwood Mac's hit album, Rumors. The whole Disruption crew will be on hand and will be presenting our annual D Awards. Party kicks off at 6 p.m. There will be beer, wine, food from Doughboys Barbecue, and Holy Pizzoli with some incredible live music. Come celebrate 3 years of the D, Saturday, February 8th. For tickets, visit our website, disruptionnetwork.net.
So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broken everything, including your back. Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Want to know what's going on at the D? Hit up DisruptionNetwork.net and check out our events calendar brought to you by the Events Co. Find out about upcoming guests, special events, concerts, show schedules, community activities, and more. Get connected at DisruptionNetwork.net.